Hey, this is George with another midweek pick me up. This actually is pick me up from last week. We were on vacation, Gail and I, and we went to Yellowstone National Park and across from there to Custer's Battlefield. We went from there to Devil's Tower up into to to the Black Hills to see Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse Memorial, and we had a great vacation. But on the way, I stopped in the airport in Phoenix to record last week's lesson, and I didn't put it on here at the time because I didn't have access to be able to do all that and upload it at the time there at the airport. It's only about 2.5 minutes, and so I'm going to include it at the end of this video. The reason it's only 2.5 minutes or so is as I started recording it, there were people there that were watching. And again, I'm in the airport. I've got my mask on, and there were people that were paying sometimes maybe more attention or less attention than I thought they should have paid. I don't know. There were two ladies that were sitting near us as Gail and I were sitting there. One of them was sitting across the way, and she just goes like that, threw up her hands, and she got up and walked away. Obviously, she didn't like me talking while she was sitting there waiting for her flight or whatever it was that distracted her. The other lady was paying very, very close attention, and wondered why she was listening so closely, but it didn't bother me too much. But I ended up doing a very short talk as a result of that because of the distractions that were going on around me at the time. And I could have totally redone it, but I decided to keep it. And again, it'll be available here in just a few minutes. You'll notice my clothes are changed because I was wearing different clothes on that particular day. The lesson comes from the book of John and from the story where Lazarus has died and Jesus goes back. And I won't go any more into that because I did do that in the lesson. But what happened was, as I was finishing, the lady who was sitting over here to my right, she says, "Oh, why did you stop?" She said, "That was so wonderful, so beautiful." And I was flattered a little bit. We talked for a little while. Ended up talking for about 30 minutes as we were waiting for our connecting flight there in Phoenix. She was a member of the Mormon Church, what she refers to as the Latter-day Saints, and we had some discussion about that her minister doesn't use the Bible when he teaches lessons, and that she really felt that it was refreshing to hear someone teach a lesson straight from the text. And so again, like I said, it was only a couple of minutes. We spent a few minutes after that. We talked about the prodigal son. We talked about some of the parables that we have in there, and we ran through a few of those things and just had a good conversation. And I just wanted to encourage you in your life that as we're walking through life, as we're going through life, sometimes we have opportunities to have biblical conversation with friends or with people that just happen to be sitting next to us in an airport while we're on the way to Salt Lake City from Phoenix. And so when we have those opportunities, we need to always be prepared to quickly and thoroughly and completely go strictly to God's text and to say, this is what it says. And we ought to be able to do that, and we need to be able to do that. So that's one of the reasons and one of my motivations for this idea of taking favorite scriptures and going through them and just talking about the favorite scriptures and why they mean something to me. And again, so that the hope is that maybe some of them will touch your heart as well. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening, and I'm going to try to tie these together. And if I don't do it very well, then that's on me because I'm still just learning this technology. Thank you, and God bless. Hi, this is George with another midweek pick-me-up. I'm sitting in the Phoenix airport. I don't know if you can tell that, probably not. We're on our vacation going to Yellowstone, and this has probably been recorded at some previous time, and we're finally putting it on the air. We're continuing our series on some of our favorite verses, or some of my favorite verses at least, and this week the verse is from John 11, verse 35. The story here is what happens. Lazarus has been sick. They told Jesus that Lazarus is sick. He goes to the family. He delays a little bit knowing that Lazarus is going to die because he knows that he's going to raise him from the dead. And as he gets there, it says that the family is really upset. Mary doesn't even come to see him, and Martha's there, and the idea is that as he's there, as he's looking, as he sees the sadness of the family, he looks around, he says, your brother will rise again. Well, I know he'll rise again in the resurrection at that time, but not sure what's really going to happen there. And then it says when he saw their grief, Jesus wept. That's John 11 and verse 35. When he saw their grief, once he realized, after he saw how much they were hurting, it affected him. And it affects our Lord when we're suffering. He sees, he hears, he knows. One of my favorite passages, or one of my favorite names of a place in the Bible is Bir Lahai Roi. Bir Lahai Roi is a place where Hagar ends up after she's been kicked out of the house, basically. And Hagar says, Bir Lahai Roi. The Lord hears, the Lord sees, the Lord understands. And that's what's happening here. Jesus sees and hears the problems they're having, so he decides that he wants to participate with them in their grief. And sometimes that's all we need to do when we have friends, is participate with them in their grief. They don't need us to give them an answer. They don't need us to try to solve all their issues. Sometimes they just need us to participate with them in our grief. Our lesson's going to be a little shorter because there's people standing around or sitting around and they're probably wondering why in the world this guy's talking to his computer like this. But I want to share that message with you and that message of hope for this week. Jesus wept because Jesus cared, and he still cares.